Hello YouTube, welcome back to a brand new video. This is the America First Pill channel. So I just want to update some more stuff coming out about this conflict um in Iran. I think they called this operation called Epic Fury. That's what the name of this conflict is. And I just want to discuss, is Donald Trump winning this war? And, because there's propaganda by the left and those who want him to fail. I definitely think, Democrats even agree, unless you're the really far radical left, Marxist lefts like Mamdani types that sympathize with the Iranian regime. But I would say that even the Democrats, at least the moderate Dems, would agree that Iran should not have a nuke. But, of course, they're going to use this. If the regime does not fall, they're going to say that Trump failed, because a lot of people think that Trump's goal in this was to topple the regime of the Ayatollah, the mullahs in Iran. That the nuclear weapon was just their excuse to do so. Now, that's what we hear. I guess you could say there's the more panicking right. Even, as much as I like Tucker Carlson, some would, probably link him to that panicking side that has done nothing but doom and gloom, it seems, over this conflict. That hasn't had many good words to say about it. About how he believes, how a lot in this segment of the right believes that Trump was forced to do this. Here's the thing. I watched that clip with Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, slip that Israel forced our hand. But, obviously, if you go back in context, he talks about the nuclear weapon program. So there's, about as well. So you go look at the whole context. But that slip up right there does give ammo of why people are against the war. Because let's be quite frank, Netanyahu has been known for not always listening to Trump, because he hit the oil, he was told not to hit the oil, was it the boats? And he did so anyways. And he seemed to do so anyways, and Trump was upset about that. It's whatever their oil confinement is, the energy side of things. And it seems he didn't listen. So, is it more that Netanyahu went and did what he did? Because it seems that Israel attacked first and then the United States joined. I guess I don't confirm me who struck first, but it sounds like Israel might have been the ones to do the striking first, and then we did that in the next day when we killed their leadership. That almost 2 weeks now. So, it's, and that's the thing. Netanyahu's known for not always sticking to the script, especially when we're trying to help Israel, but also trying to not destabilize Iran. And I think the problem with this whole conflict is, and this is why I feel like we can't really be fully aligned in this conflict with Israel, because their interests are not the same as our interests. Now, Trump has always said, and he said so himself, that the Iranian people have to be the one to rise up against the regime, and that he really doesn't believes that the forced regime change can cause destabilization, chaos. And as evil as that regime is in Iran, that's the only thing worse than that regime would be total chaos. And we've learned in through past more recent history and wars that when we do that, it causes chaos when we try to force an outcome we want. So, um, and I think this came um, from Caroline Leavitt. It said the only war for the U.S. to win in Iran is the regime change that comes either with ground invasion or an internal overthrow by the Iranian people themselves. It will have to be a latter. There's no American appetite for a bloody ground war, which is true. It's either that or use nuclear weapons, which is also not popular. This is Carolyn Leavitt's words. She said, yesterday seemed to imply as much moving forward. Stated objectives for Operation Epic Fury remain the same. Destroy the terrorist regime, ballistic missiles, raise their Iranian missile industry to the ground, ensure their terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region, ensure that Iran never obtains nuclear weapons. Okay, well, again, it's the same consistent messaging. Trump has always been consistent on that and that of them not getting a nuclear weapon. So that's been consistent for a very, very long time. So, again, nothing's changed there. I did see some new reports coming out saying that Trump is giving Israel a week to end the war, which, if that's the case, that's good, because while I don't think Netanyahu controls Trump, which is something a lot of people, especially some of the anti-war right, the really anti-war right seems to put that Trump's controlled by Israel or particularly Netanyahu. Well, here's the thing with that line. No. I don't think I do think Trump gets bad advice, but I don't think he's controlled by Netanyahu himself. I think if Trump was really controlled, he would have done this a long time ago. I don't think he would have waited this long, and he restrained. So I don't really think he's that controlled. Now, unfortunately, Congress might. If you look at Lindsey Graham's statement, trying to basically kick the isolationists out of the movement, and we don't want you and stuff. He definitely is fighting for Israel. He didn't even mention America on that appearance on Fox News, calling Israel greatest ally and stuff. Okay, all right, well, you made your donors happy, but that's they control Congress more, but not necessarily Trump. And that's a problem, and that's why I think we have to get rid of this foreign influence, because we can't be having any foreign influence on any country influencing us on decisions. So, and the problem is, if Trump was not in charge, the neocons would be doing everything Israel wants. And even some of the Democrats, too, that are also owned by AIPAC. So, yes. So, yes, that's where I stand there. Now, the question is, and I need to, again, is Trump losing? Well, again, there's a lot of propaganda saying he lost this, regime change failed, because sources are coming out saying that the regime looks like it is in no risk of collapse. Despite that, well, Trump's goal was to weaken them, okay? Weaken their missile and nuke program, and if you can reduce their power, even if the regime technically remains, they aren't necessarily a threat to the United States. Unfortunately, they will always be a threat to Israel. I just think Israel, And I think people don't want to hear this, but Israel wants Iran out of the way so that way Israel can develop into a superpower. And Iran's stopping them from becoming a superpower. Now, keep in mind, Iran's an evil nation. They made it hell for Israel. And, they have sponsored terrorism to go attack Israel. They do believe Israel shouldn't exist. So, yeah, Israel has every right to want that regime gone. But people need to be honest with themselves that Israel has all other ulterior motives and they want to be a superpower with the only ones with nukes. So, and I don't think they're afraid of Iran having a nuke because they have nukes. And in some ways they're acting, yeah. So, yes, I don't think they're really afraid. I think we're more afraid of them having a nuke than I think Israel is. But that's just my opinion. Now, what you have to understand, and this is where I think people need to understand, is that I think here's the thing. Are we at a point now where can you just walk away and expect Iran to make a deal now? Because I think the goal now, after this attack, like, do we have your attention now? Like, I think the son of that Ayatollah is still there. I've heard some rumors that he might be dead now, but I haven't heard any confirmation. But right now, they're not any agreements they have for a ceasefire. They're continuing to reject the United States on a ceasefire as well. So, it's like, I don't know. It's like, and from what I understand, the father, the son of Ali, of the leader who led the Ayatollah, the big leader that was killed, this is the son that was supposedly supposed to take over. He's more radical than even the dad, and actually is coming out saying the United States should be written out of the Middle East. So I don't know. Could this effect kick America out of the Middle East? But then again, Trump's smart. Trump, I think, threatened to cut their oil shipments to them or something like that. Then so, Trump's definitely smart and is the only one who can handle this without necessarily going to a full war. So everyone's doubting him, saying that even Tucker Carlson's like, no, there's no way the regime can fall without a ground war or a nuclear weapons. Yeah, we don't want to do that. I know that, but that's the only way to get the regime changed. Now, the question is, do you want this regime to fall now? Because if this regime is able to just survive enough that they're able to rebuild and they become more powerful than ever and they really become a threat and they want revenge, because now there's concern about retaliation. Maybe not under Trump, because Trump's smart and they're afraid of Trump more than they'll admit. But what if, when we're in a vulnerable situation where we're weaker under a weak leadership, that they decide to attack us? Let's say Gavin Newsom. You think they're afraid of Newsom? No. So that's how I have to wonder. So we might, I do pray now all the more that this regime will fall, so that way this is out of the way when a new president comes along. If let's say 2028 doesn't go our way, that this regime falls, we can then Trump can make peace in the Middle East, and then we won't have this hanging over us. So, and just one thing that went through my head a little bit is, what do we do now in regards to the situation? Could we just hope to make a negotiation? And because I think we have weakened and destroying their missiles program and the nuclear weapons. So I've heard a theory, the reason why that they're not backing down is because they still have some, and you wonder, once they're out of them completely, will they have no choice but to surrender? So that's an interesting theory, but it's we have to hope that this being destabilized and the regime being destabilized and weakened is to a point where hopefully now the regime can just kind of take care of itself and fall without us having to really force it. And I think now pray that the Iranian people will now, because we all assume they don't like this, so we pray that they stand up because their regime is weak right now and finish the job because they're the ones that have to live here. So they need to be the ones to stand up for their country. And people need to understand in America, I know we are happy for Iran if they're free. We couldn't even imagine what they've gone through living in an evil regime like this. But would there be anyone around the world that would free us if we were under tyrannical rule? I mean, the world's gone if America falls. And is there any country that would free us or try to get rid of the leadership if that ever happened? No. Even Israel, I don't think would either. In a lot of cases, they use us to help them, but we're never helped. Look at NATO. So, I don't know. So, yeah, this is interesting, some interesting developments, but I think we do have to be careful though. And I'm hoping that I'm glad to see that Trump is kind of realizing it. And I think it's showing that, because he even said there's nothing left to really strike. So it seems Trump is acknowledging that it may be weak enough. We don't need to go full regime. And hopefully we can kind of get them to fall or make a deal without having to go full ground troop. Because Trump knows that it's not popular. And I don't think Trump wants to do that. Now, so a lot of people are still upset, and you have people that are thinking that this means Trump lost because the regime didn't fall. The problem is with this too is Iran definitely know it's Israel that truly wants the regime change. And I think, if this regime stays intact, it's going to be a lot harder it's going to be harder to guarantee full safety for Israel if they are to survive. So I don't know. I'm hearing of a nuke war to be used. I think Israel will more likely use it than America would. Just knowing that. I know Trump kind of hinted at that, but I think he used it as negotiation. And I think one thing to keep in mind too is one thing we have to be careful going forward. I know Iran broke international law, which is why it became a national security risk for us. The way they had the uranium they had, which made it clear that they are making nuclear weapons, but also being able to produce so much that they make an unlimited amount that they become overly powerful. I get it on that part. But the problem with regime change as well is now it's empowering countries to make nukes. I'm hearing Japan and South Korea are flirting at kind of looking at making a nuclear program. Heard France is doubling up on that. I think Poland, I'm hearing. So is this empower? And we don't want like Iran have a nuke, but you're seeing everyone else have a nuke. They're like, I don't want to get overthrown either. So I don't know. I feel like this could set a bad precedent too. So that's just something to think about when being too quick to rush for these type of situations. So anyway, just wanted to update you with that. And I guess to answer the question, no, I don't think Trump lost. People are gonna, think so the way they did, but I think Trump is doing the smart thing. So the left can screw it. So anyway, if you like this video, please like. Please also hit the subscribe button if you like this channel. The America First Pill channel out.